About a month ago, I uploaded a video called My Most Traumatic Nostalgia. I talked about a lot of scary stuff I found online, creepy cartoons on TV, and whatever else I could think of that really spooked me as a kid. You all really enjoyed that video, so we're going to be doing something similar here today. However, I already covered most of the media that scared me when I was little, so this time I'm going to review some of your traumatic memories. I made a post about this on my YouTube community tab, and there were a lot of submissions, about 100 at the time of me recording this video, about all sorts of stuff, some of which I'd never even heard of until now. So without any farther delay, let's jump right into the media that haunted your childhood. A lot of you talked about some of the stuff I already covered in my first video, like Smile HD and other adult My Little Pony animations, namely the ones by Mr. Davy and Hot Diggity Demon. Someone even mentioned Rainbow Factory, which is essentially the Rainbow Dash version of cupcakes. Basically, flightless Pegasus ponies are killed and turned into rainbows, yet despite this grim premise, there were a lot of animations and songs made for the story. I don't remember if the song or fanfic came first, I'm pretty sure it was the song, but Rainbow Factory is an iconic piece of brony history regardless. But this fanfic was notorious for scaring kids in the MLP fandom, so it's something I already expected to see on this list. What I was not expecting is Friendship is Witchcraft. For those who don't know, Friendship is Witchcraft was an MLP abridged series on YouTube created by Jenny Nicholson and Griffin Lewis. But this duo was also known as Shirtclop Pones. I actually used to watch the show all the time when I was younger, and I still find myself quoting some of the weirder bits from time to time. I didn't recall anything outright scary from the show, but I do know that it had a lot of dark comedy that other kids were probably more sensitive to, so I can see how it bothered people.
Still angry because I threw your Velveteen Rabbit on fire, because that was also part of the test.
And there was so much dragon blood, we just slid down the mountain like a water slide.
My favorite topic that was brought up by these replies has got to be all of the fake documentaries made by Animal Planet. Mermaids, The Body Found is probably the most well-known out of these projects. The film was a mockumentary television program presented as a documentary, airing on channels like Animal Planet and Discovery Channel. It tells a story of a scientific team's investigative efforts to uncover the source behind mysterious underwater recordings of an unidentified marine body. I was a mermaid kid. I used to be absolutely obsessed with mermaids, but I gotta say, this was probably one of the worst things they aired on those channels simply because of how dishonest it was. This film mixed real facts and research with fake, fictional information that they made up, so it was very difficult to decipher what parts of the mockumentary were actually true. It was so bad that a lot of young kids thought it was real, and it scared the shit out of them. There were a lot of other programs like this, and Ancient Aliens specifically bothers me a lot, since it was meant to be a real documentary. I watched most of Ancient Aliens last year, when I was really bored and hyperfixated on Lemon Demon music. From what I remember, it was just awful. It was awful. It was bad. Basically, whenever they were investigating anything in history that wasn't made by white people, they'd just say it was aliens. What? Pyramids? In Egypt? Had to be aliens. No way that these people made it. They weren't sophisticated enough. They weren't smart. Like, are you fucking serious? Are you for real? Like, how ignorant do you have to be? But this show also scared a lot of kids because the stories, despite being completely ridiculous and stupid, presented a series of scary alien imagery and stories of abduction. If I was a kid and I watched this show on TV, I would have probably thought it was real too, and I would be hiding under my blanket every night because obviously the aliens can't get me when I'm under my blanket. That's just how it works. Those are the rules.
Now, when I hear a story like that a being is dismembered and then somebody puts together those pieces and then they're able to magically resurrect him, I have to ask the question, is it possible that Osiris was not some type of biological entity, but perhaps he was some type of a machine or a robot?
One of you guys even mentioned Vocaloid, which made me so happy. Since I was a dorky kid obsessed with robots and music, if you couldn't tell from my username and the giant headphones I'm always wearing, Vocaloid was one of my biggest hyperfixations. The comment I'm referencing was actually talking about Daughter of Evil, which is my favorite Vocaloid series of all time. My 2 favorite songs are even in that album. The Daughter of Evil series, also simply called the Evil series, is a multimedia series conceptualized and developed by Akuno P. First developed as a series of songs in 2008, the story has since received numerous spin-offs and adaptations, including as books, plays, and manga. I would kill for the manga series. I want it so badly. There are 13 songs in the series, and my personal favorite is Servant of Evil. I don't want to spoil the entire series now, because I'd love to do a full video about it sometime next year, but I will do a brief overview of, the first song. The Daughter of Evil takes place in Lucifenia, a country stated to be of unspeakable humanity, and ruled by a 14-year-old princess named Rillian Lucifen de Austriche? Austriche? Did I say that name incorrectly? Yes. Am I going to continue anyway? Also yes. The song lists how she has a servant that shares her face, a horse named Josephine, and all the treasures of the world. She acquired these treasures by stealing money from peasants in her kingdom, and she expresses an intent to destroy everyone in her way. On top of this, the song reveals that she loves Kyle Marlon, the blue-haired king from another land. However, instead of the princess, he chooses the green-haired Michaelala, another name I pronounced horribly wrong. I'm stupid. Fueled by rage, she orders the destruction of the green-haired girl's country and all of the women in it. Many houses are burnt down and many people suffer, but the princess is only concerned with tea time. Finally, all the citizens of Lucifenia conspire to take down the princess, led by a swordsman wearing red armor. The princess does not put up a fight after she is cornered, and she is scheduled to be executed at 3 o'clock time. She looks upon the crowd and simply says, "It's tea time," before she is killed by the guillotine. And, plot twist, the princess survived because that wasn't her in the guillotine, it was actually her twin brother. He sacrificed himself to save her. The servant that shared her face was her brother. Guys, I think I'm gonna have to make a video on this next year. I don't have room in my schedule until 2023 because I've already planned too many other videos in advance, but I love this so much. This is the best Vocaloid series. Fight me. It also was extremely traumatizing because of how much the story crushed my heart, and it still makes me cry now. Help.
Why can't I move my eyes? Oh, why can't I move my mouth? Is this an internal dialogue? I can't see the end of the horizon. Hatsune Miku! Is that you?
Another common theme in replies was Pokemon, specifically Pokemon creepypastas. I think that the standout entry was Hypno's Lullaby, since I'd never heard of that story before. The creepypasta follows the Pokemon, Hypno, which lures children to follow it with a song that promises them protection and lots of fun. In the middle of the song, Hypno ties the children up with a rope, and the children are never seen again shortly after. It is unknown what became of these children after their disappearances, but it is assumed that Hypno just has them, I guess. I also love the spooky images that people made for this creepypasta. Oh my gosh. The other popular Pokemon creepypasta was obviously Lavender Town, or the videos that claimed you'd be cursed after watching them. Good stuff, always a classic. Continuing with another video game, there was Five Nights at Freddy's. While the franchise isn't really scary anymore, the original game freaked a lot of kids out, especially when the first theory videos began appearing online. Some of that first game's sound design was chilling. I love it. People also lost it over the FNAF jump scares from the first few games, since it would really take you out of the gameplay when you were focused on the cameras or the music box for too long. After seeing so many jump scares over the years, it eventually lost the shock factor, though. A lot of you also mentioned top 10 lists or doing blank at 3 a.m. videos, and some people even mentioned specific channels. A lot of these videos are titled something like Top 10 Scariest Events Caught on Tape, and they show some weird footage while a narrator talks over it, describing a horrifying scenario or unsolved mystery attached to the video being played. I used to be addicted to these videos when I was a kid, but most of the time, these videos are just reading Reddit posts, so they're not exactly reliable for any real source of information. Some of them are pretty good, especially when you know the stories are fictional up front, and I enjoy watching top 10 lists about monsters or movies. Even so, I personally don't like most of these videos. I hate the ones that try to convince you that some random Reddit post by BigBrain69 is 100% true, and this blurry photograph of a stick figure with glowing eyes is concrete evidence that the boogeyman was dating his mom. As funny as it is, because these videos are absolutely hilarious now, I do get why a lot of kids were still so freaked out by them. It reminds me of when I'd hear a scary story at school in the library, and I'd sleep with the lights on because I was so freaked out that some evil cat would attack me if I stole its tail. And if you get that reference, you're a real one. But yeah, it's a lot like classic campfire stories and urban legends that get shared via chainmail. It's just presented in a much more dumb way than traditional storytelling. While I could reasonably defend the top 10 videos for these reasons, since they're essentially just collections of short, spooky stories made to scare kids, I have absolutely nothing positive to say about 3 a.m. videos. This is the bottom of the barrel for YouTube content. It's everything I hate about channels made for kids, and annoying clickbait all wrapped into one package that I want to smash with a hammer. I know that's mean. I do feel bad. A little bit, but I'd rather be mean than just lie about it. I don't even want to talk about any of these videos because I feel like you get the gist from just seeing the footage and thumbnails alone. I don't see how these could have scared anybody, but I used to be terrified of a movie where a kid started turning into clothes, so I have absolutely no right to judge any of you. I was a coward until age 8.
Okay, guys, we're gonna do the 3 a.m. Among Us challenge tonight. We're gonna do the 3 a.m. Among Us challenge. But first, you guys need to take a look at the camera. At the timer. The timer says 3 o'clock. So, guys, it's 3 o'clock. Oh my, what is that?
Now, let's talk about cartoons. There were a lot of entries that mentioned all sorts of cartoons that freaked people out when they were younger. Fishhooks and SpongeBob close-ups were so grotesque and detailed that they made kids uncomfortable. Fishhooks also had an episode about some sort of urban legend or myth that bothered one of you a lot, but I couldn't figure out which episode that was. For SpongeBob, there were a lot of scenes that bothered people, but my personal favorite was the episode about Wormy. Look at him, he's such a little guy. I love Wormy, we stan this icon on my channel, but yeah, I didn't like the real footage used for these close-ups as a kid either, especially since this isn't even a butterfly in the footage, it's a buzzing horsefly. You bastards did Wormy so dirty. He was supposed to look like a monarch butterfly, like this. He was a beautiful, beautiful boy, how dare you lie to me? Sticking to the trend of cartoon bugs, we have Miss Spider's Sunny's Patch Friends. I'd personally say that every frame of this show was nightmare fuel, but the commenter who mentioned it had said there was a specific episode that scared them a lot. It included a scene where one of the characters had a nightmare where everyone and everything he loved was turned into mushrooms. Being someone who absolutely hates forced transformation sequences, I would throw my TV out the window if I ever saw this. Even if we didn't mention that scene in particular, fucking look at this show. Why did they put this on Nickelodeon? What were they thinking? Demon faces? Oh yeah, kids love demon faces. One of you had the audacity to suggest the car crash scene from Pee-wee's Big Adventure, which is a movie I haven't ever seen in full, only catching short glimpses from whenever it was playing on TV. I pulled the scene up on YouTube, confused about why someone said the scene had body horror in it, and then I saw this! This is awesome. I need to bleach my eyes now. There was also Pingu, that old penguin cartoon that was made for kids. A lot of lists and icebergs about this topic talk about that one walrus scene that I fucking loathe with a passion and refuse to show on screen. But the commenter who submitted this entry was instead referencing the episode where Pingu gets trapped in a cave. It always terrified them as a kid, but they'd watch the episode until the end to make sure that Pingu was okay. You are a very dedicated fan, soldier. I salute you. Instead of being about a movie or a TV show, this next entry was about a bumper that aired on Cartoon Network. It was from about 2013, around Christmas time, and it was a bumper that presented a blurry face of Santa peeking in through someone's bathroom window. This might be lost media, since the commenter and I both had zero luck finding it, but I always think that lost media is neat, so I had to give it a mention. Let me know if you have any leads in the comments below. Speaking of Cartoon Network, there were a lot of comments about the shows and movies that aired on the channel. Courage the Cowardly Dog is a very common one, but another was Mr. Meaty, a show that always made me change the channel every single time it aired. It's disgusting, and you can look for yourself if you're curious, but I'm not touching that show with a 20-foot pole. There was also an episode of Adventure Time with a deer. The deer would remove its hooves and reveal very detailed human hands, and it would use its tongue to stick the candy people to one another in some horrible mass of agony and saliva. If you know, you know. Now we can finally talk about some internet stuff. Llamas with Hats is an absolute classic. I doubt that it needs any introduction or context. I recently found out that another series made by the same creator, Charlie the Unicorn, got some sort of movie or grand finale to the show, and I'll have to watch it sometime because I keep forgetting. Someone even suggested the movie 9 by Tim Burton, which is actually a movie that I really like. It's about these 9 ragdolls that are left to explore the abandoned wasteland that used to be Earth. Everything is destroyed because humanity caused its own downfall through the robot uprising, and these 9 dolls are the only living remnant of humanity's existence. There are too many nightmare-inducing scenes for me to count, from all of the horrific character deaths and haunting imagery from the post-apocalyptic thing. My favorite standout moment has got to be the rattlesnake, which is a mechanical serpent that used the corpse of one of the dead ragdolls to hypnotize the others and lure them into a trap, shaking the body around like a baby holding a rattle. It's so fucking cool and horrifying. I love it. There were a few other topics I wanted to talk about, but I didn't have time to fit them into this video, so I'll list them here instead. Consider this to be the honorable mentions of the comments you sent me. Sonic.exe, The Scary Maze Game, SCP Monsters, Smile Dog, the Moomin Ghost Ship episode, the Banana Splits movie, and Ubi. I was expecting to talk about Salad Fingers and Furby. How did no one mention Salad Fingers or Furby? Now I have accidentally clickbaited people by putting them in the thumbnail. Unbelievable. I hope you guys enjoyed listening to me give commentary on all of the media that haunted your childhoods. If this video does well, I might make a third one like it, next time looking for the more obscure stuff like that Christmas bumper and other lost media. Speaking of lost media, that's what my next video will be about. I'm going to be talking about all of my favorite lost media next week, so stick around to see that video if you're interested. With that being said, why don't you comment below some of your own memories and old media like this? What TV shows or movies scared you as a kid? Tell me all about it. Remember, if you're watching these videos, I'm your dad. And as your dad, I want to hear about all of your favorite spooky stories. Tell me about the scariest videos you saw online. It'll be super fun to get a discussion going. Guys, gals, and non-binary pals, I hope you have a spooky evening, but in a super fun way. Good night, everyone. I'll see you in my next video.